Hello, everyone. My name is Mattis, and I'm a current intern at the Human Rights Measurement Initiative, HRMI. At HRMI, we measure what matters because we believe that in today's world, only what gets measured gets improved. Therefore, we've developed the HRMI Human Rights Tracker, a unique tool to systematically track the human rights performances of countries. And today, together with you, I'll have a deeper look into the economic and social rights scores of different European countries. For a more detailed introduction into the HRMI Human Rights Tracker, what it is and how it works, and where we get our data from, I invite you to have a look at our YouTube channel at the Human Rights Measurement Initiative. And there you can find different YouTube videos that introduce the Human Rights Tracker in general as a tool. So let's get started. So together we can dive into the human rights performance of different European countries by comparing their economic and social rights. So to start, you go to rightstracker.org and you can choose one of the following languages. So I'll stick with English, but you can also choose Spanish, Portuguese, French, or Chinese. And at the Right Tracker, you can search for different things. You can search for rights for countries or for people groups. And as we want to compare the economic and social rights among different countries, we click on the rights box on all rights. And as I mentioned, in this video, we want to focus on the economic and social rights or the quality of life rights, which are the right to education, the right to food, to health, housing, and work. We also have 8 other human rights, but those will be covered in different videos. So to now compare the quality of life rights among different countries, you can go to summary scores. And as you can see, we have 86 countries. We have scores for 86 countries regarding the quality of life rights. And yeah, here you can see the HRMI score, which is a score from 0 to 100%. And yeah, 100%, it's obviously the highest score. And here it's important to mention that 100%, it's not a nice to have, but yeah, and actually it must have basically, because 100% means that a country is actually doing its best at the level of income that it has. So all these scores you can see are income adjusted, which means the comparison between the countries is not based on total numbers, but based on an adjustment based on each country's level of income. And furthermore, into international law, each country has the obligation to do whatever is in his power to improve its human rights standards. So now, as you can see, we have a bunch of different countries: South Korea, Chile, Costa Rica, Palestine, Poland. And as I mentioned, this video, we want to focus on countries within Europe. So now we apply the filter and we click on Europe and Central Asia. And for the second filter, click specifically on Europe. So now you can see the comparison of all European countries with regards to the quality of life rights. And yeah, now to have a more specific and detailed view, you can click on specific rights. So here we just see eight countries for now. But if we click on education, see that we have scores for 39 European countries on the right to education, based on the HRMI score I just explained to you. And you can see that the picture is relatively diverse, with countries such as Sweden, the UK, Norway, Lithuania, who perform relatively well with close to 100%. But you have also countries at the bottom, such as Romania, Slovakia, Austria, and Luxembourg and Germany, who perform relatively weak based on their levels of income. And to now get a more specific view, rather than just looking at the right to education, we have different tabs on the right, such as the right to primary education. So regarding primary education, you see that Norway and Iceland, for example, score the highest with over 99% with countries in the middle, such as Portugal, Georgia, Latvia. And at the bottom, we have countries such as Romania and Slovakia, who even score below half of what they should be doing at their level of income. So here we see a relatively weak performance also by richer countries such as Austria and Germany. And these scores can now be compared, for example, to the scores for secondary education. So now you see, for example, for secondary education, Sweden and Lithuania score the best, and Norway, who's had the highest score for primary education, is more or less in the middle, still with a high score, but this already shows you the complexity behind, for example, the right to education between primary and secondary school education and the scores of countries in these realms. And you can also see that the worst scores in this realm are actually done by San Marino, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and Germany. So this shows you the diversity as a whole, and it shows you specifically the needs for each country, whether it's in primary education or in secondary education. And now, as you've seen, we also have scores for specific school subjects. For example, the right to education regarding math, science, and reading. For math, you see that Estonia scores particularly well, but that many countries actually have a big room of improvement regarding the right to education, regarding the subject of math. Because even a score of 75%, you could say it's relatively well, but that means that, for example, the Czech Republic is only doing 3/4 of what it could and should be doing at its level of income. So basically, it's missing 25%, which is quite a lot. And here you see very weak performance, especially by Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Georgia, particularly Southeastern European countries. Lack investments or improvements in the right to education regarding the school subject math. Now you can have a look at science, for example, and later on at reading. You can also see Estonia, Ukraine scores are relatively high as well for the school subject science. And you see at the bottom again, Kosovo with 10%, Georgia, Bosnia, so relatively similar picture to what we've seen for the subject math. And now comparing it to reading, may see some differences here. We still have a lot of Southeastern European countries at the bottom. And Estonia, Ukraine, Finland, Poland, Ireland score relatively well. But you can see even Estonia, which has the highest score, is still lacking about 15% of the target area. So in that sense, we can see that particularly the right to education regarding the subject reading is still needs high improvement in almost all European countries. And now we can have a look at the next overall category, which is food. Here you see we have data for only 11 countries, which means for the other countries we are lacking data. Overall, you can see Germany scores perfectly well with 100%. So it's doing exactly what it should be doing at its level of income regarding the right to food. And now we can have a more specific look at, as we had for the right to education, regarding the right to sufficient healthy food. And here we see that Germany is still at the top, and countries like Albania with 87%, which is not a bad score, but still more than 10% for room of improvement. And the other sub area that we have is the right to food security. And here you can see that Poland, the Czech Republic, Switzerland are scoring relatively well. However, Georgia, Albania, and Armenia, score relatively low. So those food security is generally high, as you can see here in European countries. It remains a pressing issue, in particular European countries, namely Moldova, Armenia, Albania, and Georgia. Now let's have a look at the next overall right, which is the right to health. You see again the overall scores. The UK, Finland, and Germany score very high, and again, Southeastern European countries tend to score the lowest in the right to health. Now we have a more diverse picture. We can look at the right to health regarding children, and you see here Montenegro, Belarus, Slovenia, and Estonia, all Eastern European countries, score actually the best in the right to health regarding children. And countries like Malta and Moldova have the weakest score. However, here we see 96.3% is already relatively high regarding the right to health regarding children in Europe overall. And now let's see whether we see a different picture regarding the right to health for adults. You see Malta, Switzerland, Italy score very high, but you see that especially at the lower bottom, we see a greater divergence than we had for the right to health regarding adults. And yeah, see especially Russia and the Ukraine perform relatively weak. And we saw for the right to health for children that Montenegro and Belarus actually score their best. However, for the right to adults, they actually score relatively weak. So you can see that even individual countries, similarly to the difference between specific school subjects, may score very well in one of the sub areas. However, they score weaker in a different sub area within the same right. And the next sub area that we have regarding the right to health is the right to reproductive health and contraception. And here you see that the United Kingdom and Finland are scoring very, very high. However, there's a great divergence between the European countries, particularly Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Northern Macedonia, and Montenegro score very weak with under 20%. And though child and adult health is generally at a high standard in European countries, as you could see in the previous comparisons, there's much improvement needed in the right to reproductive health in many European countries. And let's have a look at the last of the five, the fourth of the five rights regarding social and economic rights. It's the right to housing. You can see, generally speaking, most of the countries score relatively well. However, Moldova, Romania, and Russia still lack around 30% of improvements. Let's have a look again at the subcategories. First of all, the right to water. You can see that many countries score 100% or nearly 200%. So that's definitely very satisfying for Europe as a whole. However, we can also see that Russia and especially Southeastern Europe again scores comparably weak regarding the right to water, especially Russia and Moldova, who still lack more than or around 30% of improvement in this area. Now the next is the right to basic sanitation. And here we see overall very good performance by most European countries. However, towards the bottom, similarly to the picture in the last graph, especially Southeastern European countries score relatively weak, and Ireland as well with only 69%. So missing out 21% of what it could be doing at its level of income. So you see already a more diverse picture regarding specific countries in very specific sub areas of some of the human rights that we're measuring. Next is the right to affordable housing. And here we see, besides Kosovo and Malta, that there's much room for improvement in European countries regarding the right to affordable housing, and particularly Greece and Serbia, with only 5.6 and 11.9% of the HRMI score very, very weakly. But yeah, as mentioned before, there's an overall lack of affordable housing in European countries. And the last sub-area in regards to the right to housing is the right to safely managed sanitation. Here we see again many countries with 90% or above, which is a very good score. And however, towards the bottom again, a lot of countries in Southeastern Europe, which need room for need improvements regarding the right to safely managed sanitation. However, there are also countries such as Norway, which you may not expect with such a weak score in regarding the right to safely managed sanitation. This was the right to housing and its sub areas. Then we come to the last major right, which is the right to work. Here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries with a perfect score, including Switzerland, Slovenia, Iceland, France, and Belarus. And Georgia, Serbia, and North Macedonia with a weaker score, however, still above 80%. Let's go to the right to subsistence income. You see a very similar picture, very high scores in most countries. And regarding the right to fair and relative income, which is obviously very, very important for all European citizens, I would say. Iceland with 90% and the Czech Republic with nearly 90% is a good to very good score. However, you can quickly see that many countries, like at least 25, if not more percent, regarding the right to fair and relative income. And the bottom countries, including Hungary, or also including rich countries such as Luxembourg, do not even reach 50%. So they score under half of what they could be doing at their level of income. And now the right to job. Here we see that this remains a big issue throughout all European countries, as Iceland, which performs the best, nearly reaches over 80%. And almost all other countries, even a country like Sweden, misses almost a quarter. And Denmark, which is usually seen as a relatively rich country, and which many people may expect to score very high in this regards, only scores 66.9% out of 100. So we could conclude that this is one of the most pressing issues for European countries in the area of the right to work. And in general, you can see that all our data is freely accessible and can be downloaded on our website, which you can see up here, download data. And we have other videos on human rights, on the Human Rights Measurement Initiative YouTube channel. So please check that out, as I mentioned before, with videos regarding an introduction to the rights tracker as a whole, but also more specific videos, for example, such as a detailed video on Germany's economic and social rights scores. So basically doing what I did here today, but specifically focusing on one country instead of a whole region. So you can also get in touch with us directly through our website with any question. So now it's time for you to find the HRMI data that fits your purpose towards the improvement of human rights. Thank you.